The Assembly will hear a statement by His Excellency, Mr. Moises Omar Acevedo, Vice President of the Republic of Nicaragua. May I request protocol to escort His Excellency.
J'ai le grand plaisir de...
I have great pleasure in welcoming the Vice President of the Republic of Nicaragua, His Excellency, Mr. Moises Omar Acevedo. I invite him to address the General Assembly.
Muchas gracias, amigo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Please accept greetings from the people of Nicaragua, as well as from our President, and that is Commandant Daniel Ortega Saavedra. We are pleased to see one of our brothers from Fiji, a Pacific Island state, presiding over this General Assembly for the very first time. Sir, you may count with Nicaragua's support. Distinguished delegates, a year ago, the international community agreed to launch the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. It is an agenda which provides us with an historic opportunity to transform and fight for a world order so that together we may, in peace, solidarity, and complementarity, advocate for the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals. Endemic poverty and inequality have become more remarkable than ever. And this is true both in developing countries as well as in developed countries. It is especially true in vulnerable and marginalized groups, including peoples living under colonial occupation or under foreign intervention. We must urgently eradicate colonialism, and we must put an end to military interventions and aggressions in order to bring about the full implementation of the right to self-determination and development of our peoples. The right to development is a right for all. The international community has yet to answer for the millions of human beings for whom this right to development remains a dream. Developed countries must comply once and for all with their commitments undertaken in the area of official development assistance. And they should do so also through additional, predictable, and adequate financial resources. Nicaragua recognizes the need to build peaceful, just, and inclusive societies that provide equal access to social justice based on respect for human rights, and that includes the right to development. Mr. President, much has been said these days about climate change. The World Meteorological Organization, the WMO, forecasts that the year 2016 is on track to break all temperature records since records have been kept. And this fact makes it clear that the agreements in COP21 in Paris failed to establish a firm benchmark in order to address the most significant challenge facing the planet today. The fact that the formula is voluntary and non-binding will lead to an increase in global temperature of 3 degrees Celsius, with disastrous effects for highly vulnerable countries. Now, many of us concur that what was agreed upon in Paris is not sufficient, and we call for more ambitious action. We note with great concern that the worldwide record temperatures have reached significant highs, and we note lackluster efforts in order to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, all of which reaffirms Nicaragua's position in COP21. Nicaragua, in compliance, has requested a global compensation policy in order to deal with this phenomenon, in compliance with international law, and taking into account the principle of so-called damage recovery, quote unquote. We would like to take this opportunity to reiterate our support for the fair aspirations of China, Taiwan, for a greater participation in UN specialized agencies, in accordance with the requirements and necessities of this sister people of 23 million inhabitants, who should not be excluded from the aforementioned bodies. Mr. President, in Latin America and the Caribbean, we have reiterated our willingness to assert ourselves as a zone of peace and fair development in order to achieve lasting peace and social justice through dialogue and meetings. We are pleased and we welcome the restoral of relations between Cuba and the United States of America. However, it is disappointing to see the heightened measures maintaining cruel, inhuman, and criminal economic, financial, and commercial blockade against Cuba. We would also reiterate our congratulations to the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, who recently assumed the leadership of the non-aligned movement. We would also offer our support, our full support, to President Nicolás Maduro and his legitimate government, a government which continues to be the victim of aggression, battering and destabilizing policies from abroad, coordinated with anti-democratic and oligarchic sectors from the past. We once again hail the signing of the peace agreements in Colombia between the government and the FARC, and we express our best wishes so that the peace agreements may prevail and be implemented. Friends, Puerto Rico is Latin American and Caribbean, and it is required for the colonial power to resolve this situation through dialogue and negotiation. We call upon the United States of America, as a humanitarian gesture, to release the Puerto Rican patriot, Oscar Lopez Rivera. We would also express our solidarity and support for the legitimate rights of the Republic of Argentina in the sovereignty dispute over their Malvina Islands, South Sandwich Islands, and adjacent islands. The United Kingdom must immediately comply with United Nations resolutions in this regard and resume direct negotiations with Argentina. Mr. President, we underscore our solidarity with the Palestinian people in their just struggle for an independent state with East Jerusalem as its capital. We demand the immediate return of all Arab and Palestinian territories currently occupied by Israel. We applaud and will continue in solidarity with the struggle of the people of Western Sahara under the leadership of the Polisario Front. We reiterate our full solidarity with the government and people of Syria in their fight against international terrorism and the defense of its sovereignty and territorial integrity. We would emphasize here the need for a negotiated political solution between Syrians and an end to foreign intervention, including funding and delivery of weapons to terrorist groups. It is with much pain that we have witnessed a proliferation of terrorist attacks on peoples and governments. We condemn terrorism in all of its forms and manifestations. Mr. President, Nicaragua will always promote its policy of peace, unity, and understanding among nations. Political and negotiated solutions when conflict arises, and the right of our peoples to achieve sustainable development and welfare. Within the Central American integration system known as SICA, of which we are the president pro tempore at the time, we strengthen our integration in all fields, and we work together in order to combat the scourges of drug trafficking and organized crime. Working with El Salvador and Honduras, we are endeavoring to convert the Gulf of Fonseca into a zone of peace and development. We would like to stress the need to put an end in our region to threats to citizen security and social order by way of a strong and coordinated strategy against organized crime and its ensuing ramifications. In Nicaragua, we focus our policies on the human being and on Nicaraguan families. Our people have been reaffirming their confidence in our Christian socialist model based on solidarity, which ensures that our lives will continue to improve in a stable and safe manner with growth and in peace based on people being central. Under good governance, we have prioritized economic growth, increased jobs, poverty reduction and inequality, gender equality, macroeconomic stability, along with sovereignty, security, and harmony with Mother Earth. Nicaragua was recognized by the World Economic Forum as one of the most successful countries in gender equality. It was recognized as the safest country in Central America and one of the safest countries in Latin America. It was recognized as one of the 3 most secure countries for investment, and we have enjoyed sustained economic growth of around 5% of GDP over the last 5 years. We have achieved this success through a model of partnership, dialogue, and consensus under the leadership of our government, working together with the private sector and with the men and women workers of Nicaragua. We reject, as violations of international law and a breach of the United Nations Charter, proposals and initiatives put forth in the House of Representatives and Senate of the United States, which have often been involved in interventionist policy throughout history, interfering in our own sovereign political, social, and economic processes. And this is particularly intensified during elections. Nicaragua, we will continue to foster peace, stability, good governance, and progress through innovative proposals such as partnership, dialogue, and consensus, a model which enjoys constitutional status and which has helped us to mobilize the economy and achieve significant landmarks in our fight against poverty. The Government of Reconciliation and National Unity reiterates its firm commitment to this model, which unites us around a common good, while at the same time it reaffirms our unwavering commitment to peace, tranquility, security, and democracy. And in the weeks prior to our general elections, our peoples showed their support with high approval ratings and a willingness to participate in the elections with confidence in hope. And they will be voting on the 6th of November. Nicaragua will continue its fight for a better world, a world with values where we as human beings give our best for a just, sustainable, equitable, secure, and sovereign development, and thereby also advance science and technology as reflected in all areas of our life, and that it may be accessible by all and enjoyed by all. Mr. President, transforming our world into a better one will only be possible when we assume, beginning with ourselves, along with families and society, an unwavering commitment to peace, equality among nations and between their societies. Mr. President, I conclude with the sentiment that peace may prevail. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, friends.
Au nom de la
On behalf of the General Assembly, I wish to thank the Vice President of the Republic of Nicaragua for the statement just made. And I request protocol to escort His Excellency.